We all have moments when life feels overwhelming and the urge to escape becomes strong. Whether it's through binge watching TV shows, scrolling endlessly on social media, or indulging in other distractions, escapism can offer a temporary relief. But when does it become a problem? How can we balance the need to unwind with the importance of facing our challenges head on? Hi, if you don't know me, I am Barika from Simply Unique Coaching, and I like to say that I am the leader who learned in the trenches. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the dangers of escapism. And I have definitely been guilty of using escapism in the past, but I'm doing way better with not using it in the way that I used to use it before. So I want you to make sure that you watch this entire video because we're going to talk about some really important things. And at the end, I'm going to talk about some times where it may actually be beneficial to use escapism. So let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about why we need to be careful with escapism. And escapism is really something that can lead to avoidance. And for me, honestly, it is a coping mechanism, so to speak. The main problem with using escapism as a method of avoidance is that it really doesn't help us to avoid our problems. And we often end up prolonging our stress and our anxiety. So imagine like you have this deadline at work, and instead of tackling the task, you decide to watch a few episodes of your favorite show. The deadline doesn't go away, and now you have less time to complete your work and increase your stress. And I remember, especially when I was in college, I thought I was like, oh, it's great. I work well under pressure, and I would just wait till the last minute for some things to get done. And then I just had to learn the hard way. Like, that is just not the best thing. So now I do not do that. I don't even like to have stressful mornings. I get up earlier so I don't have stressful mornings. I can take my time, drink my tea, do all the things that I need to do to start my day off in a great way. So instead of using escapism as a method of avoidance, we should really try to identify the root cause of our stress, and we should address it directly. And we can even break tasks into smaller bites and pieces so that we can address the things that we need to address. And like they say, how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. The next reason why we don't want to really lean into escapism is that escapism can actually affect our relationships with other individuals. And excessive escapism can definitely put distance between us and our loved ones. Let me ask you a question. Do you find yourself constantly retreating to your phone or your computer? If so, you might actually miss out on some of the daily interactions that you can have with the people in your real life, in your real space, and that are really going to be there for you when things happen. Think about when you're 80, who do you want to have around you and what do you want them to say about you, okay? So keep that in mind. One of the things that really is not talked about is that it actually can lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness, and people may not realize that at the time, but over time. And I heard one thing that was really sad recently where they were talking about in a nursing home, like some people who work in a nursing home, and they were talking about the number of individuals who die alone with no one around them. And it's really because they didn't invest in those relationships at the time that they could have, because they were chasing other things and doing other things. So don't forget, when we're chasing our goals or when we're trying not to complete a task, if you're procrastinating and not wanting to complete a task, don't forget that, relationships are really important at the end of the day, and how we treat people does matter. And people do remember that. We're writing our own story, but we're also writing on someone else's story. And what do we want to leave behind as our legacy? And the next reason why we really want to be careful with escapism is that it can actually hinder our personal growth. And relying on escapism too much can actually prevent you from facing challenges that are essential for you to grow. We have to use those muscles that we may not want to use, but the more we use them, the easier it gets. So trying to avoid certain things that we actually need to do, if we just go ahead and knock it out the way, it actually gets easier the more that we say, okay, you know what, I need to do X, Y, Z. Let me just go ahead and do it and get it out the way, and then I can enjoy the rest of my day without having that thing looming over my head the whole time. Like, who wants to do that? Not me. I don't do that anymore. I try not to. So every now and again, I might kind of procrastinate a little bit, but I'm trying not to do that anymore. For example, avoiding a difficult conversation or situation may feel easier in the short term, but it actually can stunt our emotional and our personal development. And instead, we should embrace challenges as opportunities for growth, and we can seek support from our mentors, our coaches, our loved ones, people who really want to see us succeed and who are in our corner. So next, let's talk about strategies to help us manage escapism. So one of them is setting boundaries. And I said in a recent video, I was like, we should be able to tell ourselves no at least one time a day. So make sure that, you're setting boundaries. So for me, I'm finding like when it's something I need to do, but I want to procrastinate, if I set a timer and say, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z for the next hour or half hour or whatever, I tend to do better. And I know some people actually do the opposite. I think it's the Pomodoro method, where they may work on something, take a break, work on something, take a break. So I know that that works for someone else. For me, it's better to have focus time working on something, and then after that I can do something fun or do something that I want to do and that I enjoy. Also, another strategy for managing escapism is finding healthy outlets. So we want to engage in activities that provide relaxation, that help us to have mental clarity without leading to avoidance. So we can do exercise, we can do mindfulness activities, and hobbies like reading and crafting, or just whatever, something that makes you happy, that is going to help actually also benefit you as well. Like there's some benefit that comes out of it. Those are the types of exercises and things we want to do. And also, I just mentioned mindfulness. So in practicing mindfulness, that helps us to actually be really where we are at that time and be centered and focused on where we are, and not like physically in a location but mentally somewhere else, right? We don't want to do that. And so actually being present in the present is going to allow us to be in connection with who we are and how we feel and what's really going on in the inside of us. So next we're going to talk about when escapism can be beneficial. But let me ask you a question. How can you manage escapism in your life? What strategies have worked for you? Make sure that you share your thoughts and comment below. I would love to hear from you. I do read the comments, so go ahead and give me your thoughts and your ideas. Now, when is escapism beneficial? While it's important to be cautious, there are some times when a little escapism can be beneficial. I believe that you need to have times when you can relax and you can recuperate, when they say rest and relaxation. So you definitely want to rest, and we also want to enjoy life, right? We shouldn't always be like hard-lined all the time. Like, no, just have some flexibility. So we could take a short break to watch a funny video or read a book to help us recharge and return to our task with renewed energy. And one of the things that we can do is we can, like I said, I set a time period, and then after I complete whatever I need to complete, then I go ahead and I can do something that I enjoy. So that's one of the things, because you can work towards something you want to do. Like, let's say you're like, oh, I really would prefer to actually scroll on TikTok or whatever. So instead of scrolling on TikTok right then and there, you say, okay, well, let me work on this task for the next half hour, for the next 2 hours. And then when I finish, then I can get on TikTok for whatever, and set a timer and abide by the timer. And then if you notice that you're not abiding by the timer, then you need to actually do something like you need to make an adjustment. So it could be something like, okay, well, if I don't get off TikTok in the half hour that I said I was allotted when I make my goal, then I have to work, maybe instead of 2 hours, maybe I gotta work 3 hours before I can get my next TikTok break. And then if I still don't get off when I need to, then maybe there's no more TikTok for the day. And it's like you have to retrain yourself. It's almost the positive reinforcement, and then the trying to reward your good behaviors. And it's really like rewiring your brain. And over time, your brain will get used to the new activity and the new action, and it'll be easier. It'll become easier. Like when you first go to the gym, you're like, oh my gosh, it's leg day. Ow, ow, ow. And then after a while, you're like, okay, got leg day today. And then, you're working on something else and you're like, oh my gosh, So over time, you just get used to it. So we want to use escapism mindfully and in moderation, and ensure that it serves as a healthy break rather than a prolonged avoidance. So now if you want to learn more about healthy ways to manage stress, I want you to watch this video next. And with that being said, make it a great day. Take care.